it's David from Lifeboat, and I'll get right into it. I wanted to talk a little bit about this deal Rishi's done with Brexit and with Ursula von der Leyen of the EU, the unelected leader of Britain and the unelected leader of the EU had this big meeting of talks to do like a new Brexit deal. The Conservatives promised at the last election they were going to get Brexit done. They didn't mention anything about undoing it once they'd got it done, but I think that's what's happening here. A lot of people saying this is like the Theresa May Brexit deal, and I wonder what Theresa May thinks about this. I wonder if anyone in the news is going to be asking Theresa May, see if people think this is a good deal that Rishi's done because it mirrors what she's done. And does this event or this deal mean that a new referendum will be held at some point? What do you think about this? I am, as I said, a British guy over here in the city of Tbilisi, Georgia. I left Great Britain to come to somewhere where costs were lower, and you can kind of see this great view behind me. This is the northern end of Tbilisi. This is a sort of a suburb called Digomi out there. Big residential area. There's a lot of opportunities for commercial because there's so many residential buildings, residential towers going up. Pretty good deals. You can rent an apartment there for about $400 a month. Nice, new, brand new, large one-bedroom. Two-bedroom apartment is going to be about $750, maybe $800. Balcony, parking, lots of nice stuff. But this is sort of the northern tip of Tbilisi. Most of the city is sort of back down here, other side of these hills. Tbilisi is a sort of a long, kind of thin, rectangular shape. But yeah, Digomi out there. If you come to Tbilisi, get in touch with me. I'll show you around. But going back to Great Britain, what do you guys think about this Brexit deal? What was the point of doing it? If Boris Johnson had done such a great job with his Brexit deal? And so I'd be interested in your thoughts on this. Also, what's going on with these bank bail-ins? Is this something people are thinking about in Great Britain? There was 2008, there were the bank bailouts, and here we are in 2023. We're talking about bank bail-ins. This is where banks pretty much commandeer your savings account or your checking account, and they convert that money of yours into money of theirs to pay their debts because they have too much debt. They've lent out too much money recklessly that's not being repaid, and someone's got to recapitalize the banks, so it might as well be people with checking and savings accounts. So is this a fear that you have? Is this something people that you know are talking about? Certainly a fear I have. I've been trying to get cash and trade it for real assets, real things, to preserve wealth in the event of a banking crisis, and interested to know what you guys think. I mean, maybe I'm thinking something that is not correct, but with all this debt in the system, with all this debt that was created in 2020 worldwide, especially in Britain, of course, but worldwide, does that mean that the banks are going to be in trouble? There's been a lot of talk about certain banks in Europe having problems, and be interested to know if you think the British banks are going to have problems. What about these issues with bank branches closing down? What about ATM machines disappearing? Is this something that worries you? Is this something that you've spoken to your bank about? What happens when you go into the bank to talk to people that work in the bank, maybe the bank manager, the branch manager? What do they say about branch closures? Is this meant to be a sign of confidence in the economy, or is this a sign of problems brewing? And I think there are a lot of problems brewing in the world financial system, as I've been saying, and that's kind of why I was so against lockdown. There was also a story about a week ago talking about how people that were against lockdown and were speaking out about it were spied on by the British Army, and their accounts were throttled, and reports on them were sent to like 10 Downing Street. What do you guys think about this? Do you think this was upholding freedom of speech? You think this was upholding the English Bill of Rights? The British military not meant to be focused on foreign enemies? Why is it British free citizens that are all of a sudden the enemy? Let me turn around here, guys. You're going to be able to see the Chronicles of Georgia right there on that slope right behind me. The Tbilisi Sea, it's kind of on the other side of it. That's where I was yesterday. And over here, kind of the other side of the Chronicles, and those are great walking areas here in Tbilisi. And then there's another shot right here down through the hillside of Digomi. It's a northwestern suburb of Tbilisi. So a lot of problems with the banks, in my view. A lot of risk of bank bail-ins, and the Brexit undoing, I suppose, is another hot topic that I wanted to address. And the army spying on people speaking out against the lockdown. What about these 15-minute cities? Is this something you guys are concerned about? Maybe your city is affected. There's been a lot of talk about Oxford and Canterbury and Bath, and maybe other cities want to be a 15-minute city. What does that mean to you? Do you want to be confined to a 15-minute area and have to get government permission to leave? Or do you think you can be a free citizen and you can travel where you want, when you want, as long as you have the means to do it? That's certainly what I think. Also, what is happening with, I keep bringing this up, but the Ukraine war. I remember when Trump was in the presidency, and he made a big thing about countries not paying their fair share to NATO. He said America was paying a lot to NATO, and other countries were not, particularly Germany. And it's interesting, it kind of got me thinking that it was actually Germany that attacked Russia in World War II. It was Hitler that pushed through Poland and invaded Russia. And so it's kind of ironic, here we are, 80 odd years later, and we're talking about Germany being protected from Russia by NATO. Why is it not Russia being protected from Germany? Now, I know there's a lot of water under the bridge. The Russians fought back and invaded Berlin. But, it's not like Germany did not provoke a conflict with Russia. And what about Ukraine? Did they not provoke conflict with Russia this time? I mean, Zelensky was there at the Munich conference last year talking about how Ukraine needed nuclear weapons, and then it was like the next day Russia invaded. Was that not provocation? Did anyone from the British government not think to say, hey, hold on a minute, we don't want to provoke war? Or is it that they did want to provoke war? Is it that the Ukraine conflict gives some political cover for all the financial problems we're currently having and that we are going to continue to have, in my opinion? So my advice, for what it's worth, is people look very carefully at their financial position, look to get liabilities removed, look to get hold of assets, look to diversify out of the financial system and into other places. Easier said than done, I grant you. I've definitely done some foreign investments in the wake of the 2020 lockdown. I thought, how can you have a business with any confidence if you can be locked down for any moment, for any reason? A lot of small business owners lost their business, but big business continued. I mean, I went to Sainsbury's every day during the lockdown. They were never closed. Everyone that worked there was never ill. And yet, if you were an independent fruit picker, an independent food producer in the market, on a market stall, maybe it's a market that had been handed down through generations, you had to lock down because you were a threat to quote-unquote public health. So a lot of strange things. It's almost like it's a war by big business on small business for market share, and now we have a war on wealth. People that paid into their pensions for many, many years, many decades, are now potentially going to get shafted. People who have built up assets that are in the financial system, maybe they're in government bonds, maybe they're in real estate, I think are going to get, they're going to be at risk of wealth seizure, risk of capital levy, a risk of increasing taxes on wealth, property tax, things like that. So interesting to see what happens this year. There was a big story in the news I read this morning about a big subprime auto loan company in America has just gone under, and maybe that foreshadows a big financial crisis in America, the American automotive market, which may of course spread into other things and create contagion. We will just have to see. One more point on Georgia. In this video, a lot of people were asking me about David, what's it like in Georgia when you're dealing with the language problem? I mean, obviously I speak English, Georgians speak Georgian. It's a good question, and there's a lot of English speaking people here in the younger generations, and also sort of in the system. I just went to the cash machine before I came up here, and the first question when I put my card in was, do you want to have the information in English or in Georgian? So obviously I hit the English button, and it's kind of what happens. A lot of English spoken, a lot of English opportunity and options whenever you do business. You can get contracts translated into English, and there's sort of a Georgian version and an English version. So lots of great things as I leave you here. Great opportunities in Tbilisi, Georgia for visitors and for investors, and we'll be doing more of these videos, especially as the good weather is now arriving, and want to keep talking more about issues in Britain with the cost of living crisis that we can find solutions for. So please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and we'll talk to you soon.